All right. So I'm not looking forward to this next piece of news because unfortunately we have to talk about it because just in case you may not know, back in November of 2017, news had broke that Nobuhiro Watsuki, the author of Rurouni Kenshin, among other things, had been arrested for possession of child pornography. And because of this, the Hokkaido arc of Rurouni Kenshin that was initially running in Jump Square had been put on hiatus because of that, rightfully so. But unfortunately, it seems that news has broken out that Rurouni Kenshin Hokkaido arc will be resuming this June. We also mentioned on the podcast a couple episodes back that Watsuki had basically only been fined 200,000 yen, which is the equivalent of about $1,900 back in February. So, you know, he had already been kind of given a slap on the wrist, and that was already upsetting enough. But the fact that basically it's been less than 6 months, and this guy already has his series coming back to Jump Square. Yeah, needless to say, this is very upsetting. Apparently, the announcement also noted that Watsuki is living a life of reflection and atonement, but that Shueisha and Watsuki decided that continuing the manga to answer the desires of fans was a matter of duty. Boy.
More like a matter of money.
I'm so upset about this.
This news is disgusting, it is depressing, it is disturbing, it is dire, it is quite sad all around that Watsuki can come back with just a slap on the wrist in less than a year, return to serializing the series, despite the severity of the crime he committed. And it's just a really sad statement on the priorities of Shueisha and the manga industry in general. That rather than punish a pedophile, they would rather continue to make money off of a lucrative property that he has created and keep him employed to make that. They didn't have to hire back Watsuki to continue this series. They could have cut him off and they could have just hired someone else. It wouldn't have been like the same storytelling, but they could have done that, but they did not do that. No, instead, they have chosen to continue to employ Watsuki, and the worst part is that they're making the excuse that it's because the fans want it. I think it is pretty sad that there are a lot of fans that I have seen who do want Watsuki to continue this story with disregard for the fact that he's such an horrible person and criminal, but it's not morally right. It's not justifiable by any means that he can continue to suffer no consequences for what he has done, and life just goes on. And now what?
I don't know. I'm definitely very upset at the fans who, despite what he's done, you know, they don't care. They just want more Kenshin, and that's all that matters to them. And honestly, yeah. I almost want to say those kind of people upset me even more.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you gotta be a responsible, ethical consumer. You know, you make the choice of what kind of media you support and consume. You have the choice, you have the ability to not support media made by bad people, by criminals, and say, no, I'm not gonna give these people money. This is not worth the exploitation of other people. This is not worth supporting people who've committed horrible crimes against children. I'm not going to support that, but unfortunately there are people who care more about consuming entertainment than they care about the exploitation of other people, even children, and it's pretty disgusting. You gotta think about these things. You can't just passively enjoy entertainment like you could when you were a child and you didn't have the context for what you were consuming outside of maybe knowing who made it. Now that you know that the background, now that you know the history, and oh, this bad guy made this thing I liked, but he's still a bad guy. I can't support what he's doing when he hasn't been punished properly for doing that horrible thing. You're sending a wrong message to publishers that, hey, we as consumers do not care. We just want the content. So, of course, then the publishers are going to be like, oh, well, then if the consumers aren't going to make an uproar about this, then we don't have to worry about it.
Oh, yeah, there's our way in.
We only care about making money, honestly. We don't really care about the moral thing. You got to think about these things as a consumer, make a smart, ethical decision as an adult, but I guess most people would rather remain children and not think too hard about it, not think about what they are saying by supporting the serialization of the series and buying, like, his manga still, Especially with a franchise like Kenshin that meant so much to kids, to people when they were kids and stuff. I know that's, like, hard to, like, let go, but you gotta make the choice. You gotta make a stand when you're an adult to say, you know what? This is just entertainment. It doesn't define me as a person, and I can live without it if it means that I'm not supporting the exploitation and suffering of other people, if I'm not supporting shadiness and criminals and all that. So you gotta be smart. You gotta be a good moral person. You gotta be an adult. But most people would not want to be adults because they just want to consume entertainment passively.
It would have been one thing if, like, Watsuki himself had come up with a statement like, hey, I know this thing I did was wrong, and I want to maybe change myself and get help, and maybe change my life from there and get help, or something. It would have been... It would have been one thing if he had come out with a statement on his own, but the fact that basically Shueisha's like, oh yeah, he's sorry. We're just gonna, and that's it. Like, they're just basically sweeping this under the rug, and it's really disgusting, honestly.
Yeah, they're not sorry that Watsuki's a pedophile. They're just sorry that, sorry fans, we're sorry we took this manga off on hiatus, but we're bringing it back so you can give us more Moonays by buying Jump Square. And it's like, no, that's not what you should be sorry for. You should be sorry that you committed a crime and support the exploitation of children. Watsuki has not made any effort to actually make amends for, what he did. He has not made any statements that he's gonna get help or anything. It seems like, they're just gonna sweep this under the rug and move on like nothing happened. The exact same thing is happening with this Channel Awesome debacle. They haven't apologized for how they've treated their employees or the contributors who worked under them. They're just, like, moving on as if nothing happened. They didn't make any apologies. They're just moving on.
Well, Sid, they sincerely regret that you feel that way. Ugh. Let's talk about one bad thing at a time, Sid.
Oh, no. Is there another bad thing to talk about? Is there something worse than this?
Sid, don't even do this to me. Yeah, I don't know. This sucks all around, and I don't know. Really, at this point, I would even be open to, like, maybe at some point if Watsuki actually made a real attempt to apologize for what he's done, maybe, just maybe, I would think about, supporting his work again. But that is the only way I would ever read his work again, at all.
Yeah, I mean, look, Watsuki's fans, they want to, forgive him, right? But, like, if you're, like, a ethical person, you can't forgive a guy who's not going to make amends for, committing a terrible crime, especially, like, as horrible a crime as he committed, like, supporting the exploitation of children.
Like, it would have been one thing if this were, like, say, and I know this has been a sort of a point of conversation here and there. When people talk about Watsuki nowadays, they also bring up, Shimabukuro and his whole debacle back, almost 8 years ago, I want to say at this point. Or it's been a while at least.
Yeah, it's like 2 decades ago, pretty much. Or like 15 years.
Yeah. I've said this on Twitter, and I'm not condoning his actions, because obviously what he did back in the day was wrong too. But at least with that situation, he was gone for 6 years. They didn't bring it back 2 months later. His series got outright canceled because of that, and he didn't get a continuation. For I forget what the name of it is. Was it
Seikematsu Leader Den Takashi?
Yeah, that didn't get any continuation. He didn't get any kind of work. Until until Toriko, again, 6 years later. I'm not saying, it completely justifies what he did, and I'm not saying you have to forgive him, but, like, at least he got some kind of punishment. At least he went through something. Watsuki, in this case, I think, in comparison, is getting off, obviously, way too leniently, and I hate it.
Yeah, Shimabukuro was punished way harder than Watsuki, even though the crime he committed is just as bad, if not worse. So, at least punish Watsuki as much as Shimabukuro. Preferably not have him return like Shimabukuro did, but, like, at the same time, like, they couldn't even do the benefit of not giving him work for a few years. I mean, to be fair, like, Shimabukuro didn't completely not have work between 2002 and the beginning Toriko in 2008. He did do other manga, but, like, that was still 2 years later. So, 2 years is better than, like, less than a year.
Yeah. And again, I just want to stress that is not condoning his actions. I'm just saying, I wish at least Watsuki got that level of punishment, but we didn't even get that.
Yeah.
But anyway, I think we should just move on from this piece of news. But we'll obviously keep you guys updated as this story possibly moves further, but for now, it's terrible and I hate it.
Yeah, it'd be nice if, like, fans in Japan protested this and said, no, we're not gonna support Jump Square if Watsuki comes back, but sadly, I don't think that will happen. And even if someone does arrange that effort, like, I bet it'll be so negligible that they'll ignore it. It'll be just like with Channel Awesome. They lost 60,000 subscribers, but yeah, we still have 1 million, so we don't care. So it's sad.